louder do you want to talk?
I speak
How
loudly.
much louder do you want to talk, Marine?
Listen, sir.
Everybody, this Marine wants to be heard.
I can't
Come
help.
on.
I hope everyone had a nice break, and welcome back to the end of the world. So as you know, World War III has started. The United States and Israel have started to attack Iran. And we are now...
It's just unbelievable. So Israel's trying to get us all killed. Netanyahu's trying to get us all killed. Tucker Carlson's totally right that Bibi's out of control. Israel's out of control.
As President of the United States, I will always support Jewish Americans, and I will always be a friend and a champion to the Jewish people.
Welcome to the sacrificed.
ترامپ بداند ما برای اینکه سالها با شما بجنگیم از پیشرفته ترین امکانات امروز برخورداریم. اول جنگ هرچی ته انبار داریم میزنیم، اما در ادامه قوی ترین موشک هامون رو خواهیم زد. اون چیزی رو که تا الان رو نکردیم و به قول ما بچه ایرانی ها تو آب نمک خوابوندیم، اونها رو هم این روزا رو خواهیم کرد.
You made 3 big predictions. 1, that Trump would win. 2, that he would start a war with Iran. And 3, that the U.S. would lose that war. It's quite a stunning prediction. You know, do you stand by it?
The reality is that right now, it's a war of attrition between the United States and Iran. And the Iranians have been preparing 20 years for this conflict. And now they have a pretty good strategy of how to weaken and ultimately destroy the American empire. So what the Iranians are doing is they're waging war against the entire global economy. And so they are striking the GCC countries. They're going after the critical energy infrastructure. They blocked off the Strait of Hormuz. And eventually, they will go after the water desalination plants, which is the lifeblood of these nations because they don't have fresh water supply. The Iranians are actually threatening the very existence of Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar. And why this is important is that the Gulf states are really the linchpin of the American economy. So what they do is they sell petrodollars and then they recycle the petrodollars back into the American economy through the investments in the stock market. And right now, we know that the entire American economy is propped up by AI investments in data centers. And a lot of that comes from the Gulf states. So if the Gulf states are no longer able to sell oil, and they're no longer able to finance AI, this AI bubble in the United States, then this AI bubble will burst, and with it will burst as well the entire American economy, which is really a financial Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, sir, an Amazon data center was literally hit in the UAE. Now, we also wanted to talk to you about munition. The United States is racing to accomplish Iran mission before munitions run out.
The United States military is not designed to fight a 21st century war. Remember, the military-industrial complex came to being after World War II, and it was designed to fight the Cold War. And the Cold War was really about muscle flexing, who was to first get the person on the moon. And so the entire American military strategy revolves around very sophisticated technology that costs a lot of money to build. And that's what the American air defense system is. And that's why we're seeing this asymmetry in this war, where you have these $1 million missiles trying to take out these $50,000 drones. And it's not sustainable in the long term. And so what we're seeing is really the puncturing of the aura of invincibility that sustained American hegemony for the past 20 years.
Be recorded for history's purposes before I know what was going to happen in regards to this if it goes through. Iran will immediately use the money that it's receiving in sanctions relief to begin to build up its conventional capabilities. Iran is led by a supreme leader who is a radical Shia cleric with an apocalyptic vision of the future. He is not a traditional geopolitical actor who makes decisions on the basis of borders or simply history. or because of ambitions. He has an religious apocalyptic vision of the future, one that calls for triggering a conflict between the non-Muslim world and the Muslim world, one that he feels especially obligated to trigger. And he's going to possess nuclear weapons. This is the world that we are on the verge of leaving our children to inherit. And perhaps we ourselves will have to share in it.
We have already informed the Europeans and everybody else that they should be careful not to be involved in this war of aggression against Iran. If they help, I'm not trying to name any country, but if any country joins in the aggression against Iran, join America and Israel in the aggression against Iran, definitely they will be also legitimate targets for Iran retaliation.
This is also just into us. Sources tell CBS News Russia is providing intelligence to Iran on U.S. positions.
Fox News has confirmed that Russia is quietly providing intelligence to Iran to help with the targeting. This was first reported by the Washington Post. Russia's goal to prolong the conflict and drain valuable U.S. munitions, much like the U.S. has done by providing targeting intelligence to Ukraine after Russia's invasion.
It will establish the most dominant military power in the region outside of the United States, and it will raise the price of us operating in the region. They're going to build anti-access capabilities, rockets capable of destroying our aircraft carriers and ships, continue to build these swift boats that are able to come on us, these fast boats that are able to swarm our naval assets. And they'll make it harder and harder for U.S. troops to be in the region. They'll also work with other terrorist groups in the region to target American servicemen and women. And they may or may not deny that they're involved, but they will target us and raise the price of our presence in the Middle East until they hope to completely pull us out of that region. They'll also continue to build long-range missiles, missiles capable of reaching the United States. Those are not affected by this deal, and they'll continue to build them as they've been doing. And then at some point in the near future, when the time is right, they will build a nuclear weapon. And they will do so because at that point they will know that they have become immune, that we will no longer be able to strike their nuclear program because the price of doing so will be too high. And so I want to be recorded for history's purposes, if nothing else, to say that those of us who opposed this deal understood where it would lead. And we are making a terrible mistake.
I hope everyone had a nice break, and welcome back to the end of the world. So as you know, World War III has started. The United States and Israel have started to attack Iran. And we are now in the 4th day of this war. And we can expect this war to last for many weeks, possibly also for many years. But I promise you that after this war is done, the world will never be the same again.
But I promise you that after this war is done, the world will never be the same again.
So what we will do these next few weeks is use game theory and understand and analyze the geopolitical situation. And so I'm going to teach you the ideas, the theories, the techniques to understand the world around you and make predictions. And we can know if our analysis is correct because all this is happening in real time, and so we can test it against reality. All right, so let's go over some basic facts about what's happened so far. So in the early morning of Saturday in Tehran, the Israelis and Americans launched a decapitation strike against the Ayatollah Khamenei, who is the supreme leader of Iran. Now, there are arguments and disputes about as to what happened. The Americans and Israelis said that they had real intelligence about where the leader was, and so they sent airplanes to just bomb the crap out of the place. They also had a spy who was able to record the body of the dead Ayatollah. And then this was announced. At first, the Iranians denied this, and the Iranians insisted he was still alive. But eventually, state media admitted that he did die in the airstrike. But then what they also said is that the Ayatollah, he's 86 years old, and he chose to die. He could have gone to Moscow, but instead he chose to stay in Tehran and die for his people. But not only that, but he died along many of his relatives. He died along with his daughter, his son-in-law, his grandchildren. So many of the family died in this assault. Also, there's been reporting that he had prostate cancer. Okay, so he was going to die fairly soon as well. So what you need to understand first about the war is that even though the Americans and the Israelis claim great success in decapitating the leadership of the Iranians, from the Iranian...
How much louder do you want to talk? I speak How much louder do you want to talk, Marine? Listen, sir. Everybody, this Marine wants to be heard. I can't Come on down here.
I do want to be heard because I am personally affected. My wife is Palestinian. My wife is Palestinian. I have soldiers. I
need a leader. Be a leader. Be a leader.
Start with respect.
I have tried to, sir, and I've tried to.
You started escalating.
I do that because I'm a Marine and I have lived, I've fought for our country, and I have this emotional response. I do this with everybody. I do this with my family. I do this with my wife. This is what it looks like, ma'am.
We do not support Israel. We do not support Israel. How many times do the American people have to say that?
This was not race-bait. This was genuine.
Do not.
It is not.
The American people.
This is how the American people feel.
Israel is the reason for this war. America does not want to fight this war for Israel. Let's go. Come on, let's go. America does not want to send its sons and daughters to war for Israel. Your inability to name that shows you have left this as leaders. Out. This is wrong. And nobody wants to fight for Israel. Out. No one wants to fight for Israel.
His hand, his hand. Oh, his hand.
Out. No one wants to fight for Israel.
His hand, his hand. Oh, his hand.
Sir. Let go of your hand. Let go of the door. Let go of the door.
The senator broke his hand. A sitting U.S. senator just broke the hand of a Marine.
Sir. Okay.
Control your Senate.
I'm stuck in the door. Okay, sir.
A U.S. senator just broke the hand of a Marine.
Hand's stuck.
A U.S. senator just broke the hand of a Marine. You're a coward.
Punk.
Yeah, go fuck yourself. Why'd you say that? Senator? Go fuck yourself. You were a shit. That's why you got kicked out, fat ass.
Everybody sit down, please. Sit down, please. Everybody sit down, please. Everybody sit down, please.
I'm getting out of here.
That's fine. Everybody sit down, please.
Is your hand okay?
Okay. No, it's not.
This is disgusting. Disgusting.
Just pull it out.
Disgusting.
Oh my God, what happened? His hand got totally smashed. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Why are you getting arrested?
Free Palestine. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, Palestine will be free.
And what about this war in Iran?
Oh my God.
His arm.
Okay. Ah, fuck, my arm is fucking broke, bro. My left arm is broke. I understand. Don't fight.
Oh my God. Oh, you guys, come on.
I need you to move.
You need to stop.
Okay.
Brian, stop.
He's fighting for you, not for him.
They broke his arm.
Oh my God.
God. It's totally broken.
Oh man.
Please, can you get him some kind of medical attention?
Yes, we are.
Oh my God.
You are? It's great.
Just let go of my arm before you sit down.
Y'all step back, please. Please move
Can we
back.
get
Keep
him
this
some
walkway
medical
open.
attention?
Who needs her?
No, he broke his arm.
Okay. Would y'all just move aside then? That way people can still exit.
Josie, what happened?
We just witnessed a Marine veteran interrupting the hearing.
People that say, well, the Prime Minister of Israel dragged Donald Trump into it. And as somebody that's been friends with him over 30 years, nobody drags Donald Trump into anything, number one, but I want to get your reaction to that.
Well, you're right. I mean, that's ridiculous. Donald Trump is the strongest leader in the world. He does what he thinks is right for America. He does also what he thinks is right for future generations. And frankly, we're partners in that effort because I've devoted my life to securing the life of the one and only Jewish state. And believe me, it's been a struggle. I've known the pangs of war. I lost a brother in war and in battle. I myself fought terrorists and was wounded in liberating hostages from a hijacked plane. I held a fellow soldier in my arms when I was 18, and he died in my arms. I know the cost of war, but I know sometimes that war is necessary to protect us from the people who would destroy us. And that's what free societies have to understand.
It's just unbelievable. So Israel's trying to get us all killed. Netanyahu's trying to get us all killed. Tucker Carlson's totally right that Bibi's out of control. Israel's out of control. And Nick Fuentes is totally vindicated in his predictions of all of this. Because last year, well, during the election 2 years ago, he said, Trump's going to go to full war with that.
And so the religion of the Iranians is called Shia Muslim. And this is different from Sunni Muslim. So Sunnis are the majority. They're about 9% of all Muslims in the world. The Shia have always been the minority. And as such, they've always been persecuted. So in the Shia faith, the core value, the force that binds everyone together and gives them purpose and meaning in life, that galvanizes them into action, is the idea of martyrdom, which forces jihad. To sacrifice yourself for your religion, sacrifice yourself for the common good. So think of the death of Khamenei as a sacrifice, a self-sacrifice, in order to motivate the Iranians in this war, okay? So that's the first thing you need to understand. That for the Iranians, this is not a geopolitical war. This is not an economic war. This is not a war of resistance. This is a jihad, okay? It's a war against the great Satan to avenge their leader. They will fight to the death, all right? That's number one. Number two is this. Also that morning, when the Ayatollah was killed, the Israelis struck a school in the south of Tehran, killing about 150 school children. These are girls in primary school. And again, there's a lot of debate and argument as to what happened. The Israelis said that, first of all, the school was next to a military base. We were targeting the military base. And second of all, it wasn't us which struck the school. It was a air defense missile that went off course, okay? And the Iranians insisted no. The Israelis purposefully attacked the school to kill the school children. And then you're like, why would the Israelis do that? But then these few years, well, we've seen what they've done in Gaza, in Palestine, to the Palestinians. And it's pretty consistent.
As President of the United States, I will always support Jewish Americans, and I will always be a friend and a champion to the Jewish people. I have been. And I will say, if you go back 10, 12, 15 years ago at the most, the strongest lobby in Washington was the Jewish lobby. It was Israel. That's no longer true. You have to be very careful. You have a Congress in particular which is becoming anti-Semitic. You have AOC +3. You have those people, Ilhan Omar, she hates Jewish people. And you have to be very careful because there's been a big change. If you go back 15 years ago, I'm not Jewish, but my father was very friendly with many Jewish people, was honored by Federation. I would go with him to Federation of Jewish Philanthropies and many other things. And we grew up respecting and loving Jewish people. You know, you don't even think about it. In Brooklyn and Queens mostly. And my father didn't go to Manhattan. He never went to Manhattan from the standpoint. He could never understand how in Brooklyn you could buy a piece of land for $3 a foot and how in Manhattan you had to pay $1,000 a foot. He said, I can't get that. I don't like it. I like to buy it for $3. So it was different. It's a different thinking. In a way, I'm glad he didn't do that because he let me have some of that fun. And I had a lot of fun in Manhattan. We did great. But my father would tell me the most powerful lobby that there is in this country is the Jewish lobby. It's the Israeli lobby.
The most powerful lobby that there is in this country is the Jewish lobby. It's the Israeli lobby.
West Side, here's an IDF soldier, apparently an American by his accent, describing why he's at war. Watch this.
They call this operation the Swords of Iron. But what are we really fighting for? We're fighting for the right of the Jewish people to exist, be Jewish, practice their religion, and be free. And one day our true leader will come and we'll be united as the whole Jewish nation so we can rebuild the Beit HaMikdash.
Beit HaMikdash, probably mispronouncing it. That's the Hebrew term for the temple, the third temple. We are doing this so we can rebuild the temple. Now you'll notice he's pulling off patches on Velcro on his IDF uniform. These are not civilian clothes. This is the uniform of the government of Israel, of its military. And he has patches on that uniform, one of which is a symbol of the temple, the third temple. So it just couldn't be clearer. Why are we doing this? To rebuild the third temple. Now, if you think we're just cherry picking this off the internet, one guy wearing an unauthorized temple patch, paid for, by the way, a uniform paid by us, armaments paid for by us, the U.S. taxpayer pays for all this stuff one way or another. The U.S. taxpayer pays for the military of Israel. Boy, does it. If you think we're being unfair and just like found one guy, well, here's a bunch of guys. It took us about 2 minutes on the internet to find this today. Here is a selection of IDF soldiers. Let's put it on the screen. There you go. And all of them have the same patch. Look familiar. Look carefully at that. What is that? That's the temple. That is the third temple.
But given past actions from the Israelis, this is fairly consistent with what they've done. Okay? So we can assume that this is something the Israelis did. Why they did this, what the purpose is something we will discuss as we move on. Okay? It's very complicated. Next, I want to show you this. This is Dubai. And Dubai is considered one of the wealthiest, safest cities in the world. There are thousands, tens of thousands of Westerners who move to Dubai because it's clean, you don't pay any taxes, you make a lot of money, and there are great restaurants. And this is really the economic model of Dubai. It's one of the GCC countries, okay? The Gulf coastal countries. And for the longest time, Dubai had a really good deal because they were under the protection of the American military. So they didn't have to pay for defense. And then they were in the Middle East, which is the oil producing center of the world. And so they focus on aviation, they focus on logistics, they focus on finance, on tourism. They became extremely wealthy, right? I'm not sure if you've taken Emirates, one of the best airlines in the world. So their airport, Dubai Airport, is the busiest in the world. And Dubai, for the longest time, was flourishing under American protection. And Dubai said to the world, listen, we're like Switzerland. We're neutral. We don't want any involvement in any wars. We're here just to take care of our citizens, to make sure everyone has a good time, to make money. And then right after the war started, the Iranians attacked the GCC, okay? Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, they attacked these places. And these players were like, what's going on? We're neutral, man. We're not involved in this war. And the airport was shut down in Dubai. At one point, the rich people in Dubai were willing to pay about $250,000 US just to get on a plane and get out of there. Okay?
Senator,
no,
that $100,000 only had to do.
And I will hold the clock until I finish.
Okay.
The bottom line is, I've done the analysis, and you can say whatever you want to. I've worked with the Democrat governor. I've worked with the Republican governor. I've worked with fiscal research. We have people contacting my office now to get the information to better understand the failure of this department. You failed at FEMA, and in fact, if I get to it, actually, why don't I cover this right now? The Homeland Security Act of 2002 expressly prohibits the Secretary of Homeland Security from restricting or diverting FEMA resources from the agency's mission. Based on your disaster response, the chart that I just showed you, I have reason to believe that you're violating the law, either knowingly or unknowingly. So I'll be asking and getting a submission to the record, submitting a question for the record, what the total amount of FEMA reimbursements are currently being held by DHS, awaiting for final approval. Held by DHS, awaiting for final approval for an agency that you should not be obstructing the disbursement on. I'm going to give you time to answer to it under penalty of perjury so that we can get it right. Now, going back to Minneapolis, why can't we just say we made a mistake? I will ask you one question, if you could just give me a quick response. Who does Tom Homan work for? You or the president?
The president.
Okay. Why is that? Because I believe the president recognized that you weren't getting it done in Minneapolis, and you're putting us further away from pointing to this. We're beginning to get the American people to think that deporting people is wrong. It's the exact opposite.
On what you know today, Madam Secretary, were Renee Good and Alex Preddy domestic terrorists?
Congressman, what happened in Minnesota in those two incidents was an absolute tragedy.
Were they domestic terrorists, as you said to the country?
My condolences to their families, because I know that their lives will never be the same after that happened.
Is that an apology for what you said?
We, in those incidents, offer as much information as we can from officers and agents on the ground in a chaotic scene that gets.
I'll repeat my question, reclaiming my time. Based on what you know today, Madam Secretary, based on what you know today, were Renee Good and Alex Preddy domestic terrorists?
As you know, there's ongoing investigations that are being led by the FBI.
But you didn't wait for the investigation, did you? You didn't wait for the evidence. You proclaimed that they were domestic terrorists at the time. Why did you do that?
And you didn't wait to attack our law enforcement.
Why did you do that?
We're going into a dangerous situation.
Why did you call them domestic terrorists?
Because our ICE officers and our HSI officers that day risked their lives to protect that scene. So evidence could be reclaimed. So it could be used in the investigation. Because those violent rioters that were
So you're
there
proud of the fact that you called them domestic terrorists? Is that what you're telling America?
HSI.
We have official reaction now from Secretary Noem. She has posted this to X. Thank you, POTUS, for appointing me as the special envoy for the Shield of the Americas. Secretary Rubio and Secretary of War are incredible leaders, and I look forward to working with them closely to dismantle cartels that have poured drugs into our nation and killed our children and grandchildren. The Western Hemisphere is absolutely critical for U.S. security. In this new role, I will be able to build on the partnerships, the national security expertise I forged over the last 13 months as the Secretary of Homeland Security. We have made historic accomplishments at the Department of Homeland Security to make America safe again. We delivered the most secure border in American history. 3 million illegal aliens have left the U.S. We've located 145,000 children. FEMA delivered disaster relief at a 100% faster rate. We ushered in the golden age of travel, saved the American taxpayer $13 billion, and revitalized the U.S. Coast Guard. So Kristi Noem just posting that to X moments ago. Molly?
Yeah, it does. I'm sure she does want to highlight some of the successes that she had during her time there. I also find it interesting that this new role that she has is a more foreign policy facing role. The cartels really are an important part of the Trump agenda, dealing with them. And should she want a political career in the future, one that a different office she might want to run for, it might be good to have increased foreign policy performance like she will get here.
Molly, it's I've been racking my brain all damn day trying to figure out where I knew Mark Wayne Mullen from.
If you missed it, he's probably going to be replacing that plastic-faced, bigoted fucking wretch, Kristi Noem, at DHS, but I couldn't figure out where I knew him from. And then it hit me. He's this guy, the same guy who tweeted about how I will lead the breach, I will lay down cover fire, is the same guy who cowered like the spineless, feckless, ineffectual rat-fucking bastard he is on January 6th. He's that guy. Wouldn't you know it? That tangerine taint-licking motherfucker, Mark Wayne Mullen, didn't say diddly fuck when his orange daddy pardoned all of those murderous, treasonous, rioting pieces of shit that scared him to the point that he cowered behind a chair. Ladies and gentlemen, the average conservative spine on display. Non-fucking existent. In essence, Kristi Noem gets a promotion to a job where she doesn't have to explain to the American populace how exactly she swindled $200 million of taxpayer money to pay for bullshit ads and to live in a mansion, and we have yet another Trump-loving nut job in charge of the murderous fucking goon squad running amok on our streets. God damn, I hate this country and every last one of you troglodytical motherfuckers who supports this. Get fucked and put Kristi Noem in prison.
She was her city's first female mayor. Now she's been found guilty of having sex with a minor. Her own children telling authorities they saw their mom being inappropriate with a 16-year-old at a pool party. Here's Ann Mercogliano.
She's the glamorous mayor just convicted of having sex with her son's 16-year-old best friend at an alcohol-fueled pool party. Mayor Misty Roberts was accused of plying teens with alcohol while wearing only a bikini. KPLC TV reporter Devin Cruz covered every day of the sensational trial. The mayor was seen in a bikini, giving alcohol to minors.
She was seen in a bikini, and several witnesses testified that Miss Roberts or Misty Roberts had gotten the alcohol for the kids and had stocked a fridge. They were by the pool and they began kissing.
Then they went inside the mayor's home. Her own 16-year-old son told investigators that he saw his mother having sex with his friend through the window and that kids at the party had video. Court testimony revealed the mayor's younger daughter was crying at the party and asking people to go and make the victim and the defendant stop. The next day, the victim's mom learned about the sexual encounter and feared a possible pregnancy, texting the mayor, "Out of respect for both our families, can you assure me that you can't be pregnant?" "Yes," responded the mayor, stating that she was on birth control. There was also testimony from a DoorDash delivery driver who said that he received an order from the mayor for the morning after abortion pill to be delivered to her doorstep after the party. Jurors began to deliberate last night, and it took them less than an hour to deliver the verdict. The unanimous verdict: guilty of carnal knowledge of a juvenile and indecent behavior with a juvenile.
She did become very emotional and she began crying.
Before the mayor's arrest, she had promised to always lead the city of DeRidder with her heart.
I might not look like or feel like or speak like every other mayor in America, but I am a mayor that will always be who I am, and I will lead this city with my heart.
The mayor resigned from office just days before her arrest.
Misty Roberts' lawyer says she's very disappointed with the verdict. Her sentencing is scheduled for April 17th.
We begin this afternoon with a shocking and deeply disturbing discovery on Cleveland's east side. And we want to warn you, the details here will be hard for some to hear. Police say 2 young girls were found buried in shallow graves, each hidden inside a suitcase in a field near a local school.
Yeah, well, just hours ago, Cleveland police shared some new details about what's happening now with the case. Natalie Clydesdale's live outside the Justice Center. So, Natalie, what are Cleveland police saying about this discovery itself?
Christy and Jay, Chief of Police Dorothy Todd calls this a terrible and horrific case, and she says that right now investigators have no leads and no suspects, but adds that there is no known threat to the public at this time. Just after 6 o'clock last night, Cleveland police say a resident walking a dog discovered the body of a young girl in a shallow grave inside of a suitcase. This happened in a field near East 162nd Street and Midland Avenue, right next to Ginn Academy. As officers canvassed the area, they found a second shallow grave nearby with another suitcase. Inside was another young girl. The first victim is believed to be between 8.5 and 13 years old, and the second between 10.5 and 14. Police say their identities and their causes of death are still unknown. Detectives also say there are no clear indicators of how long the girls were there, but they do not believe it was recent. This afternoon, I spoke with a woman who lives across the street from where the bodies were found.
Ooh, that was really frightening to me. I'm like, oh, really? Well, it's quite important to me because I live here and I need to know what's going on around me.
We also spoke briefly with the man who made the discovery. Off camera, he told us it was an extremely long night and said he's exhausted. Meanwhile, police are urging anyone who may have seen anything suspicious in the area or who has any information about this to give Cleveland police a call tonight at
Venezuela, then Iran. The question now is, could Cuba be next? It looks like there has been nothing subtle, right, about the hints that President Trump has been dropping, telling another media outlet today that Cuba is going to fall pretty soon. They want to make a deal, and so I'm going to put Marco Rubio over there to see how well that works out. All of that echoing what he said here yesterday. Listen to this.
But what's happening with Cuba is amazing, and we think that we want to finish this one first, but that will be just a question of time before you and a lot of unbelievable people are going to be going back to Cuba, hopefully not to stay.
And joining us now is NBC News analyst and former congressman from Florida, Carlos Curbelo. Carlos, great to see you. So, Cuba going to fall pretty soon. I mean, what do you think pretty soon means? And what do you think that Rubio's visit is going to look like?
Gaddy, what it likely means is that the Cuban regime is at the table and that they are actually willing to give some concessions to the United States, maybe for the first time ever in terms of meaningful concessions. So the president very bullish in terms of the prospects for change in Cuba. The rumor on the Hill, and people expect news as early as next week out of Cuba, is that most of the changes for now are going to be economic in nature, meaning that the regime will remain in place. So perhaps something similar to what we've seen in Venezuela. Of course, that's going to make some Cuban Americans in South Florida and throughout the country frustrated because what the community wants to see is the regime go. But it seems that for now, the president might be content stopping just short of that.
But their script in the book of Revelation to bring about Armageddon and the end of the world. They're doing it intentionally.
Who is they?
I don't know who they are. I think they're Satanists. I think they're people that worship the dark force, that don't care for humanity and human life. And in fact, they're the total opposite of, they worship the devil.
So there's been a very, very interesting report released by an organization called the Military Religious Freedom Foundation, which, as its name suggests, monitors the separation of church and state and attacks on it within the military. And it has had scores of complaints since this conflict began. One combat unit commander told the Federation that the foundation that non-commissioned officers at a briefing on Monday said that the Iran war is part of God's plan and that President Donald Trump was anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and return his and mark his return to Earth. And they've received scores of complaints from all over the military over the last several days that similar messages are being delivered. And take a listen to what Pete Hegseth said when he was asked on Monday what his prayer is for the troops.
First of all, my prayer for them is that I do pray for them. My wife prays for them, our family prays for them, our cabinet prays for them. None of this is done on a whim. Having been in their boots, having been in their shoes, having been in their flight suits, I know we think about them with every decision that we make and every recommendation that we make to the President of the United States. Those recommendations are made prayerfully. And when I pray every day for them and for this mission, I pray simply for the biblical wisdom to see what is right and the courage to do it.
New attacks on Bahrain's capital. The building that houses the Israeli embassy was targeted there. And Qatar says Iran has now attacked its navy. Now remember, these are countries that Iran might have thought were, if not neutral, friendly. They're hitting them. Iran rapidly expanding now the conflict, aiming at 12 countries and at least 2 territories that we know of. It's getting bigger by the hour as they desperately shoot out in every direction.
Questions are also emerging about how Iran developed this capability. Israeli defense analysts have raised the possibility of foreign technological assistance. Some speculate that expertise may have come from either Russia or China, but no public evidence has conclusively confirmed such involvement. For now, the claims remain part of the wider information battle surrounding the war. What is clear is this: cluster weapons change the shape of a battlefield. Instead of one explosion, they create many, and that can leave dangers behind long after the missiles stop flying.
There was a vote that was taken to reaffirm the U.S.'s view that Iran is the leading state sponsor of terrorism in the world. When a similar vote was taken 3 years ago, the vote was 420 to 1. Yesterday, 53 Democrats voted against that resolution, prompting Steve Scalise to say, quote, "We just had a vote in the House to simply affirm the fact that Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terrorism." 53 Democrats voted no. By denying this basic fact, these radical Democrats are defending the murderous Iranian regime and standing against Americans.
It's no different in other religions where, listen, if you want to kill the Pope, the Catholics would be really angry at you and they would want to kill you, right? So now you have the Shia who will probably eventually arise, creating a revolution in Bahrain, okay? So I think Bahrain will be the first to fall. Dubai will probably go bankrupt, okay? But in the long term, we can expect the entire GCC area, including Saudi Arabia, to eventually collapse, okay? And so this is something we'll use game theory to understand. All right, let's continue. So we will know how this war develops just based on geography, okay? So this is a map. And this map, even if you don't really know the war, even if you don't know the participants, even if you don't know the weaponry, this map will tell you exactly how this war will progress. All right, so some certain things to keep in mind about this map. This is what we call this area, okay? Really small, it's 33 kilometers wide, okay? People can swim across it. It's really, really narrow, okay? This small area, guys, it's called the Strait of Hormuz. All right? And it's important because it's really the center of the world. This one area is the nexus, the pivot of the world. Let me explain why. First of all, from the GCC, you have 20% of all the world's oil flowing through this narrow strait. Where does it go, guys? It goes to Asia, India, Pakistan, South Korea, China, Japan. India depends on 60% of its oil from this area. China depends on 40%. Japan, 75%. Prime Minister Decapitation of Japan has said that, listen, if the Strait of Hormuz closes, we will run out of oil in about 8-9 months. The entire Japanese economy would collapse in 8-9 months if the Strait of Hormuz were to close. And guess what? The Iranians have closed the Strait of Hormuz.
The devils of the world will celebrate, and everybody they have managed to brainwash. But this is not over. Trump is going to pay a price paid by no American president at all time, paid by no Zionist of all time, paid by no criminal of all time. Trump is going to see, because revenge is coming, and revenge is coming soon, and revenge is coming after Trump, after everybody who facilitated this assassination. He will pay the ultimate price. And it's not only by the millions of Iranians, it's not only by the millions in resistance countries, it's also by those who have newly joined the resistance.
I support Iran dropping every single rocket in their arsenal right in the middle of Israel, wiping that entire country off the map. That's what I support. I don't support Iran. I don't support Israel. But of the two, I would rather see Iran wipe out Israel and watch how fast the war ends. The sad part about it is these same veteran content creators have zero knowledge of what's even going on over there. None. They don't spend hours and hours a day researching outside of government propaganda to educate themselves so they can make informed decisions. For those of you with dual citizenship in this country with the United States and Israel, it's time to pack your bags, get the fuck out of our country, and go die for the country that you actually show allegiance to, because it's not the United States. Go back to your homelands with your Jewish chosen people, and go fight, because if you really believe you're God's chosen people, trust me, they're going to need your help. And God will protect you, right? So go back and fight for your country, God's chosen people.
The Bible says that this attack at the end of time will come on Israel from the north and the south, and that will be the final war, the war to end all wars that will usher in the end of time. Now here's the question. Are we entering into that war right now? In Ezekiel 38 and 39, it mentions nations Gog and Magog. That would be like modern day Russia. It also mentions Persia in Ezekiel 38 and 39. That corresponds to modern day Iran. What we do know is that if Iran enters the war, that Turkey and Russia will probably go with them. Right behind them will be North Korea and China. And if all of the world powers start attacking from the north and the south, start trying to attack Israel, that could be the war to end all wars that ushers in the end of history. You may be going around now like, bro, this is heavy, man. Can I just say this? There's a lot of hope in Ezekiel 38 and 39 because we know how that battle ends. But the Bible says exactly at the moment when it looks like all hope is lost for the descendants of Isaac, that the Lord himself, Jesus Christ, will descend. He will take the battlefield and he will win the war once and for all time.
Here, the RAF obliterating a drone over Jordan, but on the ground, fleeing Iranians are defiant.
They cannot defeat Iran.
On Iranian TV, a senior cleric calls for President Trump's blood.
NBC Nightly News.
On US TV, Iran's foreign minister.
We are not asking for a ceasefire.
Are you afraid of a U.S. invasion in your country?
No, we are waiting for them.
We're destroying more of Iran's missiles and drone capability every single hour. Their Navy is gone. Other than that, they're doing quite well.
We are built for this fight, and we are in it to win it.
The Americans convinced Iran is running out of firepower.
What else do you know? I just, I think we're living in the worst possible times right now, that if we don't make some changes, there's going to be some major disasters about to happen. And it's man-made. It's not solar flare. It's not any of that. It's a dark force. Because she told me, well, I'll tell you what she told me. This is what I put in writing, part of it. She said, there are people in power. I put this in writing in 2012. She said, there are people in power. And I'm not going to say where she focused my thoughts on that, but there's script in the book of Revelation to bring about Armageddon and the end of the world. They're doing it intentionally, and that's what she told me. And that's the very thing the main meat of the whole message I sent to these generals.
Well, Gatti, it wouldn't be much of a contest. The Cuban military is not what it used to be 30 years ago when they still had a lot of more modern Soviet-era weapons. The soldiers, I mean, the generals do very well because they're very wealthy. They're tied into the economy. But lower officers and Cuban military aren't well compensated. So there wouldn't be very much resistance if the United States decided to pursue some kind of military action. It would probably be a very short and expedient operation.
And as you know better than I do, out there in Florida, Cuba is famously less than 100 miles away from Florida. We saw so much telegraphing with the movement of troops into the Caribbean before Venezuela. Then we saw the same type of telegraphing very early on, things headed out to the Middle East, and then we saw the attacks on Iran start. Does that same telegraphing have to happen, or can a strike, a surprise strike, be launched from American soil?
It would be very easy, Gatti, for the United States. I mean, there's an Air Force Reserve base in Homestead. There's a naval air station in Key West, very, very close to Cuba. So the United States does have significant assets. Southcom, the command center for Latin America, South America, is in Miami. So there are a lot of military assets here if the United States needed to respond, if at some point they decided that military option was the best one. They could easily execute that with assets that are already here in the...
I saw video this morning, real video, not CNN, though they have been better, but real video out of Israel. They are getting absolutely pummeled.
That was to be my next question. How badly is Israel getting pummeled? And where is Netanyahu?
I think he's on a plane 90% of the time. He's flying around. He's flying around the Mediterranean. I understood he was on a private jet coming into Mar-a-Lago to talk to Trump. I don't know if that's true or not, but my source is pretty good. He's staying out of the fray as best he can because he knows that he is #1 target.
How badly are the Iranians damaging Tel Aviv?
Very badly, very badly. And it is relentless. It's not a fuselage. It's relentless. And increasingly, and in the latter stages of this 15-minute video, you could see that fewer and fewer air defense missiles were going up. And at the end of it, in the last 60 seconds, which is a long time, Judge, if you're under fire, there were no Israeli missiles going up. The Iranian missiles were just getting in.
Wow. Wow.
It's all being lied about, of course. You can't get this out. You can't even get it out of Al Jazeera or Al Arabiya. They're not allowed to film this sort of thing because he's got a wrapped down tight ban on anybody coming in there and making film other than his own propaganda people.
President Trump has not ruled out boots on the ground in Iran. Are you afraid of a U.S. invasion in your country?
No, we are waiting for them.
You are waiting for the U.S. military to invade, the ground troops?
Yes, because we are confident that we can confront them, and that would be a big disaster for them.
So you're saying that Iran is ready and willing to take on the U.S. military if there were to be ground troops?
Well, we were ready for this war even more than the previous war. So you can see, the quality of our missiles, how much they are upgraded after the last war, because we learned lots of lessons. And we are prepared for any other eventuality, even, a ground invasion. So our soldiers are prepared for any scenario. When I said that we are waiting for them, it didn't mean that we are waiting for continuation of the war. No, but we have prepared ourselves to confront with any scenario, with any eventuality, any possibility, and we know that we can handle that.
You could say right now that the president has turned up the gas prices on the American people. You could accurately say that. And yet every last one of these big pickup driving, sister kissing, patron saints of vaginal fucking dryness hasn't said a goddamn word against it. We bombed a school, killed over 100 innocent children, and yet this gaggle fuck of shitbags lacks both the testicular and spinal fortitude to come out and say they're against it, if for no other reason than because it makes them mad that gas is more expensive for them. They can't do it, and that enrages me. We heard for a year about, I can't vote for her, she'll start a war, gas prices will go through the roof, I won't be able to afford anything. And now that it's here, and we're watching self-proclaimed Christian fucking nationalists come to the White House to lay hands on the president and pray because they're hoping he starts Armageddon. And there are commanders in the militaries telling their subordinates that they're in a war for Jesus. These troglodytical slipdicks are looking around going, well, that's the way it is. Why are you so mad, you stupid lib? Get fucked!